You can't beat the noise of a 5-pot. That 5-pot engine is just addictive.
We're at the Transport Museum now. We've arrived in Whittle. It's the National Day for the Volvo Enthusiasts Club, and we're going to meet some very, very interesting people who have some very interesting Volvos. Hi, Michael.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah, right. So we have here a Volvo P1800ES.
I've always fancied one, actually. I really like them, and I've actually always slightly preferred the shape of the Volvo so-called beach car, as they call it, to the original coupe. Plus, I can get my bike in the back of it.
So you use it all the
I do,
time?
yeah. I mean, not in the winter when the salt is on the road, but no, it's a driver quality car, and so I drive it. You know, it's not a show car, so.
But you've not had it long, have you?
No, just coming up for a year actually. I acquired it down in Sussex, and drove it home to North Yorkshire from there. So that was the first big drive.
Because even today you've come from Scotch Corner, haven't you?
Richmond, North Yorkshire, exactly.
And we're in the West Midlands, so it just shows.
It all over the north. You know, the square Volvos I've just always found them very satisfying from a design standpoint. They're known to be very durable.
They are, aren't they? Yeah, that's one of the advantages of these cars.
And there's sort of a go-anywhere vehicle, and older ones not so common. You know, they're not so. You don't see so many on the road, so it's pleasing to drive something a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at conventional Volvos, if I can call them conventional, and as you say, they are quite square. This does not even look like a Volvo. It's got this almost sort of 1960s, almost Ferrari-esque sort of look to it, hasn't it?
Yeah, it does confuse a lot of people who aren't familiar with it. And I think that's possibly why I like the ES a little bit more than the coupe. The coupe to me is almost 50s in its design. I mean, it did come out, I think, around 1960, and it has those vestigial tail fins, which are a very 50s kind of styling cue. This is a little bit more of a 60s design, I think.
But it's a shooting brake, isn't it?
Is.
Before they even existed, you know, and that's the thing. This is a trendsetter, you could say.
They're famous for being, pretty reliable. This hasn't given me any trouble at all since I've had it. I had a small hesitation problem with it, but I sorted that out by cleaning the throttle switch.
I think there's one in America that had done 3-point-something million miles.
That's the famous red coupe, isn't it?
I love the fact that people have cars like this and don't just lock them away.
Yeah, it is disappointing when there are so many beautiful cars out there that don't see the light of day.
Because even Kevin, who runs this enthusiast club, in fact he's the founder of the Volvo Enthusiasts Club, he has the Simon Templar sort of, Roger Moore car. That is in a very good condition, but actually he uses that as well.
Good, yeah.
And that's the thing that I just love, what's the point of locking a car away? Well, I would say for a car that's 53 years old, that's in pretty good condition.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it is. And I don't believe that part of it's been restored, and the seats certainly haven't.
No, because it's still got the original label there for the HVAC, as they call it.
A couple of things don't work. Like, I mean, there's supposed to be an electric aerial on it. Not so much.
That's the joys of having a classic car.
There's always something, always something.
The other thing I've noticed as well is that in the earlier cars, the oil temperature in the water, they're vertical as opposed to circular. That makes sense.
I hadn't noticed that. Yeah, I do prefer the dashes in the coupes. I think they're absolutely beautiful.
It's very different.
But
there's a lot more metal. Shiny bits in there.
Yeah, there is, and it's sort of a turquoisey sort of background to the gauges, isn't it?
Blue
it's kind of cool. Yeah, very cool.
What? There's 2 levers here, I've noticed.
Oh, that is the seatbelt releases. The original steering is pretty heavy on these. And it came with a huge, almost like a boat helm of a steering wheel, which for me was too. Yeah, Bakelite, exactly. It was too big. I didn't have enough knee room.
Right.
So switching to a small steering wheel has solved that. And having the power steering means that it's fine with a smaller steering wheel.
It's manoeuvrable.
It's a really nice balance.
I mean, Michael's car is absolutely fantastic, and it's lovely seeing an ES because normally you get to see the coupes. But you know something? Not only have we got one in this lovely blue colour, but we've got 2 more on the same day at the same venue. Most Volvos Volvos, they rack up lots of miles and they have a huge reputation for longevity.
Yeah.
This is the epitome of that.
Yeah.
You know? Brilliant. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you. Nice
Thank
to
you for
talk to
sharing.
you.
Yeah, thanks. Now we've got something incredibly special. I have with me Rob, who has a wonderful Volvo, but this is not a standard Volvo V70.
It's a 2005 Volvo V70R. It started life as an automatic, but it's been converted to manual. Now, to convert one to manual is quite a big job, because you've got to take all the dashboard out to get to the bolts that actually hold the pedals, and then you've got to also make amendments to the wiring loom. And then also the ECU then has to learn that it's now manual, not automatic. We've got a 3-inch downpipe and stainless steel exhaust system, a snab front mount intercooler, running around 350 brake. Well, standard they're about 5.8 0 to 60.
Yeah.
This is probably 5.5 seconds top 0 to 60.
Yeah.
It's Haldex 4-wheel drive, so it's great off the line, and it's got the Spaceball 6-speed manual gearbox,
Fantastic.
M66 gearbox.
Converting these to manual, is that a common thing? Are a lot of
It's
people
not
doing
common.
that? It's the amount of effort, isn't
It's a lot of effort.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's gearbox, it's drive shafts, it's prop, and then obviously, as I said, going in depth into the actual fitting of the pedals and everything is quite a big job.
And then the electronics. So it's
and then obviously all the trim as well, because obviously you're moving from a selector to a gearbox to put the Spaceball system back in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite a lot of conversion.
It's a lot of work, isn't it? Yeah. This carbon effect stuff is stuff you've
it's
done.
aftermarket.
It's
It's
all
carbon.
aftermarket.
It was carbon fibre dipped.
Yeah.
So normally it's just a dark blue cover.
Yeah.
But I've just wanted to enhance its look.
I mean, I see the IPD there.
The previous owner was very methodical about the car.
Right.
He did the conversion before I bought it.
Yeah.
But he spent a lot of money with IPD.
Yeah.
I mean, something as silly as that's $64 just for the oil filler.
Yeah.
But he's also done IPD suspension, so all the sway bars are IPD.
Yeah.
You've got Comfort, Sport and Advance. He replaced the shocks and springs. He just threw a lot of money at the car.
Yeah.
Which is why it's as good as it is today.
You know straight away this is not something normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliant. But this isn't the only car you've got either, is it?
No, I've got a C70 T5.
Right.
Again, that's running around about 300 horsepower. I've modified that. I've had that since 2008.
Yeah.
So yeah, very much into the Swedish things.
But why? Why the Swedish things?
You can't beat the noise of a 5-pot.
Yeah.
That 5-pot engine is just addictive.
Yeah.
Whether it's a 2.3 or a 2.5,
Yeah.
you can't beat that growl of a 2.5 litre.
Yeah.
They just sound tremendous.
Throb.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
They
You
sound
can't,
beautiful.
can
They do sound lovely.
Yeah, they do sound lovely. That's fantastic.
If you talk to retired police officers,
Yeah.
many of them that have unfortunately got involved in accidents in T5s, they've always said if it wasn't the fact I was in a Volvo, I may not even be here now.
No, and that says everything you need to know,
Yeah,
really, doesn't it?
and I mean, and also back in the day, you know, people used to ride Yamaha R1s.
Yeah.
They'd do 160 mile an hour, and they'd say, and behind me I was being chased by a T5.
Yeah.
At 150 mile an hour, they were
Yeah.
very, very capable high-speed cars.
And an estate.
Yes.
You know, able to carry the whole family and everything else,
Yes.
you know, in safety, in comfort and everything. I mean, yeah, like I say, these seats are brilliant. The dashboard and everything is really nice. And, you know, modern cars are moving away from all this switchgear. And, yeah, you look at that, it looks a bit intimidating when you first look at it.
Yes.
It's actually, it's all very logical.
Yes.
You can see you've got your infotainment system there.
Yes.
And your mobile phone and all the rest of it all there. You've got your HVAC there. It's not that complicated, is it?
No, not at all. They're very good.
You know, and one of the criticisms of this car was the number of buttons. It's actually not too bad at all. And that's for somebody like me who doesn't drive a Volvo. I can understand it. I'm sure anybody else could. No, thanks, Rob.
No problem at all.
Thank you, yeah.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you too. I hope you enjoyed that. That was a very, very quick whistle-stop tour of a Volvo V70R. And this car is absolutely brilliant. In fact, sitting in here right now, it makes me want to buy one. How weird is that? So thanks to Rob for showing us around. Now, if you want to see another Volvo that's been fettled, then click on the little tile that appears in front of you now. It's a 940 with 506 brake horsepower. Anyway, thank you for watching and I'll catch you on the next one.